best time I was a father is very similar to the best time I was a manager. When I didn't manage anybody and when I didn't have any kids, you want to know what the best parents are is when they don't have any children. That's when I was a perfect dad. I watched my own dad who tried to be perfect and tried to do that. I'm going to tell you about the time that I realized I gave up on being a perfect dad. On a road trip from just hit a traffic accident. It was horrible. This is not a good way to start a joke. But here we go, because I don't know how else to tell this without telling some boring parts. So just hang out with me for a bit and we'll get there, I promise. So anyway, hit some traffic. It was a horrible accident, and my 4-year-old son had to go to the bathroom. And we walk out in the woods because I don't know about you when you traveled as a child. My family would go from Dallas to Wisconsin, and we would have a piss bucket. And we'd have to literally pee as you're I'm a child of the 80s. We lived rough back then, I'm just telling you. Anyway, you had to go pee in this bucket. Anyway, so my son needed to go to the bathroom, and we pull over because it's on 35. 35 starts in the cities. That 35 that's in the cities goes all the way down to the border. Long road, big road. Anyway, so I go in the woods. He's having to pee, and he goes, poo-poo. I'm like, all right, drop your pants and go, man. And then he's like, sit down. I need to sit down. So trying to be the good dad I am, I squat down and make a human toilet for my son because I am going to be a better goddamn parent than my wonderful father. I was going to set the stellar example of what fatherhood should be. And as my 4-year-old is dropping a turd between my feet, I get angry. I am downright pissed because I'm like, man, this kid's going to turn fucking 16 years old and he is going to hate on me. He's going to think I'm a terrible father because sometimes I have those moments and I'm going to think, man, I was a human toilet for this child. But I am proud of this moment that I pulled over the side of the road because when I was going from Dallas to Wapaka to go see my grandparents, one time we were on the road trip and I said poo-poo. And I had to take a shit. Sitting next to my mother while my father's driving and yelling at me, why did you take a shit at the last stop? And he's belittling me as I'm taking a shit. I make a direct eye contact with my older brother who is just laughing his fucking ass off as I am literally taking a shit in my parents' van. And I was a human toilet for my son. We get back in the car. My wife, my ex-wife, just the whole thing's on my fault. I caused a goddamn accident. So I'm like on edge. This 3-hour tour, like the fucking Gilligan's Island tour, that's how long this trip should have been. 14 and a half hours with my children in the car, my wife. Anyway, we get a little bit further, stop finally for dinner because it's late, because we left the house early. And we're at a restaurant. Short version, my 2-year-old son, pukes on his mom. They're in the bathroom cleaning up, and the waitress comes by and says, hey, your wife needs you to get some new clothes for your daughter. And I'm like, I don't have a daughter. So my wife gets really happy with me coming around the corner with puke on her, puke on my son, so I had to go to the car. Anyway, might skip that next part next time I do this bit. That's a check, no. Anyway, we get back on the road, and as we're driving, we get to the Dallas Metroplex, and if you've never been in Dallas, there's a road that looks like you're driving into the multiverse, because the roads just all spin on top of themselves, like 10 highways on top of each other. It's insane. Busy traffic. I'm like, Jackson, who's my 2-year-old at the time, goes, PP. At this point, I turn into my dad. I'm like, I look around, I see down a large Wendy's cup, those paper ones that's been sitting there with some ice in the bottom that, like, the bottom kind of looks really weak. That's the one. I'm like, fuck it. Dump the ice out the window, roll it down going 65 miles an hour, dump the ice out, pee in this. And I'm like, and I start having, cats in the cradle. My boy's just like me, I was not I didn't belittle my son. I drew the line there. Anyway, I'm driving, and I'm going to look at the wall of shame real quick. And I turn around, because I am pissed that Jackson's peeing in the car. And it was at this moment I felt like I was a terrible dad, not a super dad anymore, because I saw the tears in my son's eye. And then I felt horrible in that very moment. And then he started to fart. And he gets this look in his eye. So when you have a 2-year-old who's potty trained, you want to try to capture all that joy so he knows that that's not a good thing to do. And he starts pooping. And I hear it, and I can see the look in his eye. I say to his mom, I said, "Move it to the back." He's still peeing. She's like, "He's still peeing." I go, "Pee or poop? You choose." I was curious. If you had to choose between pee and poop, what would you do? I would pick the poop, most surely, because I could mop up to pee. I just don't like the smell of poop. So she goes back, but she then realizes he's still peeing, and she wants to get both. So she's trying to go back and forth. And the contact I made with my son is she was shitting on my ex-wife. And I realized at that moment it's more about the connections you have with your children and the moments you make. And so that's the first time I felt connected to my son, and it's because he shit on my ex-wife. Thank you very much.